live from Skye. Welcome, sending you lots of beautiful white snow, mountain, peaceful energy. Today we are on the day of pleasure. So we shall begin. Lots of pleasure to get filled into this 3 hours. So let's talk about pleasure. Obviously means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. We saw yesterday people at home who we didn't have that live broadcast, but we did a constellation after we closed, and part of that was pleasure, was representing pleasure, but the energy of that was a very wonky version of pleasure. It was very, and that's what was held, that's what was known as pleasure in that family system. So you can put something down with a word, with a name, worthiness, and find it cowering in the corner, because that's the known version of that. That's what that means in that family system. So pleasure in the situation we were looking at yesterday was very abusive and a very, very unhealthy version of it, which was brought into a healing movement when we brought in, what did we bring in as the resource? Sacred sexuality. Now, I didn't tell anyone what those two energies were. I just put down a fabric. I knew it was representing, that was the intention, that it was representing pleasure, and the representative showed us what was the energy of that. And then I put down a fabric that the intention was that it was representing sacred sexuality. Neither of those representatives knew what they were, but instantly there was a healing movement when sacred sexuality came in, a very big healing movement that the whole room felt the energy of that. So it was beautiful. So pleasure, the reason I'm telling that is because pleasure can be distorted. Sexuality can be distorted and become shameful or aggressive or all sorts of other words that you might want to put in there. Can people resonate with that in their own family systems, or even others that you might know of? So what does sexual energy mean to us? Sexuality. What collectively, like maybe we're from different countries in this room, so it's maybe different in different countries, but just generalizing, shout me out some things that sexuality means. Being sexual or feeling sexual, or just that word. Dirty, thank you. Open. Expression. Connection. Forbidden.
Creation.
Embarrassing. Gender. Secret. Taboo. Pleasure. Exploration. Amazing. Forbidden. Scary. Unity. Presence. Sexy. Power. Joy. Creation. So let's say positive words and the negative words, just to label them that way for the sake of the discussion. Where you brought up, whether either in your family system, in your school system, in your religious system, or just in the society in general, were you brought up knowing that sexual energy or sexuality was creation, joy, power, amazing, all of the lovely words unity that we heard in here today? No, everyone's shaking their head. No.
It was somebody else's. It was there, but it wasn't necessarily what we did.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. So as an observer, it was so you were separate from it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I actually remember as a child hearing the word sex for the first time, and no one shamed me. And I just remember going, sex, like around the living room as maybe an 8-year-old. Yes, I just crayon. And no one shamed me, laughed at me, or anything. Anyway, I just remember
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Something I
No,
remember
it
is
didn't, actually.
like you're watching whenever we used to watch the TV.
Oh,
Switching
You could watch violence,
Yeah.
but the minute there was
Yeah.
it's all going to be okay, but there was something going to happen. My dad would go, oh, what's the channel? There'd always be this.
Oh, hang on, it's gone. I've just got all these things saying that
You never
something was needed to go live on it. It wasn't live.
Dallas or Dynasty started.
I've learned it from my son.
Leah get calling.
Absolutely
Right.
secret.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think we're in agreement that sexual energy, and the pleasure from sexual energy is not something that we've learned to be beautiful and powerful. We've had to find that. If we're at that stage, we've had to find that ourselves and learn that ourselves. So what's held in there? You know, like we're trying to change the narratives, but it's a hard one to change because it's held deeply in there, and it's still present, strongly present in society, in schools. Now it's shameful or embarrassing. If it's not quite as shameful, it's all right. I pressed the wrong button and it went away, but it popped up here with a big red cross. Okay.
Okay, cool.
Oh wait, is it there?
That's okay. That one can't go live anyway. So
No, right. Just remove.
Aye.
Right. Okay. Okay. Great. Okay. So how do you think that's affecting us? How do you think it's affecting our bodies and our
Express.
well-being? You can't express.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Feel inhibited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Disconnected. Suppress. Yeah.
Yeah.
Suppress.
Contraction.
Yeah.
Shame.
Yeah.
You make me laugh. Yeah, I mean, so if the orange and the blue are linked, you know, if you imagine this is as one, the voice, the throat chakra and the sacral as one connection, like maybe a flute or some kind of instrument or
I was just
something.
thinking iron brew.
Iron brew.
Yeah.
Oh, the orange and the blue. So, yeah, if you're blocked here, it impacts down here. If you're blocked here, it impacts here. It's one. Yeah, so you often find that. So actually, just think for a minute. You don't have to speak it out, but just think for a minute. How free and comfortable are you in your own sexual sound? In your sound of pleasure, in your moment of orgasm, or in the lead up to it? How comfortable is that? Or does it only come when you can't control it? Or is it a beautiful journey?
Can't remember.
Zero or minus.
Because it should be a beautiful journey.
Is orange and blue mixable in the colour chart?
Yeah.
As the
So if your
artist.
throat chakra is slightly blocked, your sacral is too.
Okay.
Likely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Woohoo! An avalanche! It's a sign.
Or at least, let's maybe not use the word blocked, but you're not experiencing fullness, your full potential. So I'm not going to sit here and say anyone that's not connected to their sexual energy, it's bad and it's wrong and it's this and it's that. You're just not in the fullness of what you could be in. Your full pleasure of your daily existence. The same as Lily was talking to you about, if you eat at this time and this time, it has an impact. If you eat these types of things, if you breathe like this, if you do, it's not to say if you're not doing that, you're fucked. But here is the potential. So this is why I'm giving another perspective for you to open to your full potential, because that let's get high on sky, that high on your own supply, that buzz that we're getting every morning when we're doing this breath work, it's powerful, right? it releases, it pushes things out, it pushes stagnation and all the crap out, and we feel great. That's also, you can also do that with your sexual energy because it's there. So imagine, like, if you say you go over there and John's made us an amazing bowl of soup, right? And you're like, this is yummy soup. What flavour is it? I don't know, it's soup. So you know you're eating soup, you know it's there, and you know it's going in, and that's it. Same with your sexual energy, you know it's there, you know it's all around. It's like if you're like the little antenna that's going around, you're the conductor of energy that's just out there, it's moving through you.
Remember the noises at the seaweed banquet?
When we were eating it.
Uh-huh.
Orgasmic.
It was just like, it was unreal, wasn't it?
Exactly.
And nobody was embarrassed about.
No.
Was it flavoured?
It was amazing.
My friend's a seaweed expert and they just made all this food with seaweed. Oh my God.
So, you've had the bowl of soup and you know it was good and you enjoyed it, but you don't know what was in it or you're not really aware. What happens if you start tasting every day like, oh, this is basil, this is rosemary, this is salt, this is whatever. So you're just connecting to that, you're familiar with that, you know. So then you have the soup and you can taste. I know that's got, I can identify, but you're tuned into it. The same as why Lilia can go in the river like that, because she's practiced. Our body's the same as I can feel in the constellations because we're tuned. So what about tuning in to your own sexual energy? How would that be? What would it take for that to happen without it being shameful, without it being embarrassing, without it being stereotyped into sex, the verb, the action? Because that's not what it is. I mean, can you feel your sexual energy right now? Great. Can we all feel our sexual energy right now? No. Also great. Because that's fact. That's where we're at. Most of us are at. But it's not because we're doing anything wrong. It's just that we've not really been encouraged. Same as you come and you do breath work every day. So we'll be doing some different practices to just support you in things that you can do to connect to your own sexual energy every day. But I just really want to bring clarity that your sexual energy isn't feeling horny. That's what people think.
It can be though as well.
Of course, but it isn't just that. That's like, people are like, oh, nothing happens down there. Dry as a bone. You know? It's, there's hormones and all sorts happen. It's not about that. It's not just about from touch. So close your eyes just now. Put one hand in front of you and take the other hand and stroke your hand, stroke your skin. And notice, where do you feel, or if stroking's tickly, maybe you want to press, maybe massage, or whatever it is that feels nice. And just notice, where does it feel nice? Of course, it feels nice in the exact point that you're touching. Is that the only place that it feels nice? Yeah. And where else can it feel nice? Yeah. And where else can it feel nice? In your yoni. Yeah. Where else can it feel nice?
Anywhere.
Anywhere. Yeah. In your whole energy system. In your whole. Lily. In your whole ... energy system. Ooh, you hot, Mark. Yes. Perfect. Thank you, guys. So you can see it's not just there. So when sexual energy and sexual pleasure isn't just coming from if you have any of your points aroused. It's there. It's in you all the time. So I don't know if anyone's been noticing that maybe in the inner dance or in the breath work, or sometimes you get it if you're just listening to music or certain vibrations, or do you notice that you get like a wee spasm in your body, like a wee electricity spasm? It's like Kundalini moving. So for anyone that hasn't had that, that is an amazing, when you do the retention and breath work and then you release, whether it's an inhale or an exhale, at this point, your Kundalini's going wild. And if you just open to it, because your body's just going to lie flat, heavy. But if you just open that door and let it move, it will move because you are vibrating. We're all vibrating. And yet we don't think we are. We're just solid mass. That's it. So would it be that crazy to think that you could do this Kundalini movement of like electricity coming through your body without forcing it? Because if you're forcing it like that, your muscles will give out eventually. You can't really force it for very long. When it happens on its own, you got a six-pack the next day because you literally can't stop it, and you might be like, oh, my muscles are sore afterwards, because it's powerful. If you let it keep going, you can bring your mind in, or you can change your breath and stop it. But if you open to it, and so I'll invite you to do that later on today, also in the inner dance, and then see what happens in the breath work tomorrow as well. Whoa.
Vision of the whole building.
Yes, blow the roof off.
Don't come knocking.
That's a rocket. Don't come knocking.
Yes, so this is what today's about, really. It's about pleasure and recognizing that pleasure's all around, but your own sexual energy is super powerful, and that you can cultivate that and build that the same as you do in the breath work. And you can ping that. I visualize it like a pinball machine, with a little pinball. So if that's been built up either through breath work or through pleasure, whatever it is that you're doing, and then when you do ping, it's like you flick the pinball thingy and it goes up your spine. Ding ding. And it's a very, 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 very beautiful feeling that you don't want to end. So if you think about when you are having sex, whether alone or with another, and this point of climax and the energy, what normally happens? It goes out energetically. Normally, it goes out, unless you're consciously not doing that. And then that's fine, that's nice, but it's gone. So what would happen if you were to, at that point, pull it in, the same as you do in your breathwork retention? From in your pelvic bowl, scoop it and just flick the switch on the pinball machine and ping it up. It's exactly the same as what you've been doing on the retention. So I invite you to try that and practice with that, because it's super beautiful and super powerful. And then you probably will find that you'll have Kundalini movement in your body, and that's blissful.
That same as the inner dance when we were talking about as you work through your chakras to the crown. What you do when it gets there, you bring it back round to create that circuit.
It's like Lily, a screensaver that she's had up on the laptop. It is that torsion field, and we're going to do some breathing and some stuff in a minute, working with that out the crown and up through the root and out the crown, or the other way around. And you can do that with another, human. You can do that with a tree. You can do that with sitting alone in the air and feel the energy of the mountain. Or you can do it completely just with Mother Earth and Father Sky and be that conduit in that sense. So that's what we'll work with, different tantric breath in that sense, because tantra means woven together. People are like, did anyone know that? What did you think tantra meant? Sex. And what do you think sex means? Shame.
What did you say?
I'm just going back to the previous question. What does sex mean? Shame. Yeah.
I said Jane. I was like,
So that just to the bishop.
yeah, exactly.
So yeah, tantra is, it's not just sex. It's not just sexual. It's not just having sex with another.
Tantra means togetherness.
Woven together.
Woven together.
Mm-hmm. So that can be with another, and that's amazing. If that's your intention and that's your choice, that's a really beautiful practice. But it can also be you woven together with the universe, with universal energy, your energy, the universal energy, all as one. So, and when we work with tantric massage or tantric practices like that, what's happening is the practitioner or the facilitator is not really there. It's a practice to connect you with your own divine sexual energy, your sacred sexual energy. It's yours. If you're not feeling it or you don't want it, sit with that, because it's yours and it's there. You don't have to do anything to earn it or deserve it. You're human and you're born and you've got senses, and that's it. That is your divine right. And all of the ancestral garbage, the schooling, the family, all of that stuff had a place, kept us safe from all sorts somehow, and actually in the process often made us very unsafe. And all that got a bit twisted and warped, but we don't have to continue that. And the more as a collective we can drop the taboo and the shame around sex, around sexual energy, and have open conversations, because actually it can also, the same as any part of the body, it can signal to us that something's out of balance. You know, like if you've lost any kind of desires, if you're, you know, like all sorts can tell you. If you're really feeling, and I'm not meaning like you're just walking around horny. I mean, like if you're just really feeling pleasure and connected to your sexual energy, you're going to be having a really nice life, no matter what you're doing. Who wouldn't want that? And it's just there. It's there in that spine. It's in that spinal fluid. It's in everything. It's not anything new. Lilia's been taking you through it every single day. Just bring an extra perspective to what's happening there. See, somehow it's acceptable for us to be like, oh, I'm just breathing. I'm breathing in my belly and it feels really nice. Great. What about if you just pull that down a little bit? Oh, no. No, I'll just breathe in my belly.
So your whole entire being.
Your whole.
I saw a documentary explaining dolphins live permanently, constantly in an orgasmic state.
Yeah.
I once had a skipper on a yacht taking private schoolgirls about it. You know, they're all masturbating when they jump out of the water. They're like, oh,
No, they've got a smile on their face.
Yeah.
The others have got a constant smile on their face. They're always like laughing. And they're like mega intelligent. They're completely like,
You're laughing at us.
yeah.
At us for being so like
I know, especially
rigid. Pull up your arse. Right. So, any questions on that? Is anyone feeling massively like any objections to that, or it's okay if we are like it's okay. Like we can't just all suddenly go, oh, I'll just flick everything.
Is tantric energy a different word for sexual energy? Is it is it just a different word to say the same thing? And sexual energy is what we perceive sexual energy as. Tantric is the woven. So
I wouldn't say so.
right.
No, tantric energy is its own a whole different thing. Sexual energy is part of tantra, tantric practices, tantric beliefs, tantric lifestyles, and everything. But I'm just bringing that as part of it today because I feel like in this country particularly, it would be really helpful for us to start talking about sex and not just sexual abuse, but also the other side of it, sexual pleasure, and how excluded that is. And if we've been looking at constellations systems these last few days, whatever's excluded. Yeah, so.
I think it's your mojo. Yeah, is that the right?
Yeah, if you want, yeah, your mojo.
I always think of, but a girlfriend in New Zealand, and there was a period where she was so in her mojo and she was so attractive. She just was really attractive, and then life and a whole lot of stuff has shut down a lot of her, and she doesn't have her mojo now. And I hope very much that one day that part of their life force comes back. But it is a sort of a sexual attractiveness, but not sex, but it's just it's an energy. It's vitality, isn't it?
It's an energy, and you can sense. So you can find people that you're just like, wow, we used to call it confidence, because they walk around and they're very confident. But that to me, it's not. That's a whole different word. It means something else. It's just exuding, because they're in their pleasure. They're in their own flow. And then you can also see shame, where people wear their shame. You can see the way that people stand, and like body shame, or like sexual shame, or just closed throat chakra. I don't really want to speak out. You can see it as well. So yeah, here's another thing that we can do to support ourselves in opening up and being in our fullness, being in our wholeness.
And it can be cyclical as well, can't it? With like lunar cycles, and just it's a changing energy, isn't it? All the time.
I think like hormonally and stuff, but that's like also in a way you could say that's like you can only do breath work with lunar cycles. Breath is always there.
Yeah.
Sexual energy is always there.
I don't mean it's not there. I just mean the rhythm of it changes. For me, if I'm in an insular mode, that can be something really quiet and really beautiful. And if and that can be equally as beautiful as if I'm in an extrovert mood and wanting to, just laugh and enjoy nature and whatever, for me it has different expressions. And like as an artist as well, that I find I'm very connected, like my sexual energy and my creative energy are very connected. If I haven't got the mojo for it, I can't find what I want to say creatively,
Mm-hmm.
And if it is flowing, then it's like, oh, just created that, or it's just, something's happened sort of thing. So
I'm going to bring it down, also like drill it down into actual sex now as well. And I'm not saying that's the only source of it, but for me, it's one of the main blockages to why it's not just flowing in abundance. And that comes back to what we were talking about at the start, the shame around it, and the expectations and the ideas of how that should be, and how partnerships should be, and how sex within partnerships shouldn't be. and what's right and what's wrong, that gets passed down through religions and family systems and all sorts. And yeah, generationally, it has been very private and closed and not that enjoyable on the whole, I would say, from what I've gathered in my own research, especially in constellations. There's not really often women that enjoyed sex in previous generations. It was more to get pregnant.
What's the word? Perfunctory.
Mm-hmm.
The word.
And something else I've noticed in my own journey, not having children, but I have a niece and nephew, but I also have so many really beautiful sisters and friends who have children. And I noticed that there's just this common theme of women becoming mothers and then losing the part of themselves that's the woman. And that, I think, just from what I've noticed, is that there's so much pressure on mothers to do all of the right things for their child. If they can't breastfeed, the shame, having to go into a bottle and all the shame, and so many judgments and pressures, and they don't sleep, they barely get time to wash their hair, they just don't feel attractive in the slightest, and that's for like a couple of years. Yeah, they don't sleep, they're tired, and they're just constantly alert and giving out and giving out. And then of course that can very easily affect the relationship if father is present, and then there's not, and that would be normal, because it's not going to be the first thing on your mind if you're really, really tired or whatever is going on. But the longer it continues, then it becomes the norm, and then there's like a bit of a fracture in the sexual relationship between mom and dad, and then all of our old ancestral family pattern wounds start to pop up, and insecurities, and then things start playing out. So it's like fertile ground for troubles. Dysfunction, yeah. So I mean, if there's healthy sexual relationship, there's a bond there, there's a togetherness, and to me that's a form of communication. And it's not just the spoken in a relationship. How often do you speak with your partner? How often do you talk about things that are really in your heart, not just the practical stuff, or in your mind, or like those really conversations that just make you feel connected to them? Love that chat. It's as important to it's as important to have that communication with your sexual energies, even if it's not intercourse. Like those conversations bond us and are really, really important. Otherwise we stop talking, and we stop talking, and we distance, and then we disconnect from each other, disconnect from ourselves. And then we're all just going around like robots, disconnected.
I've got a slight confusion in that I'm on a medication, and it completely has blocked my sexual. I can still have a libido, and I can feel you touch me, but I have absolutely no sexual sensation. Now, it is a recognised side effect of the medication, but I didn't know that. So what I'm saying is I don't think it's in my head. When I've been off the medication, it came back, went back on the medication, it went away again. And it is what it is. And it's whether I'm with someone or with myself. But presumably, maybe you can use this stuff to override the medication. I don't know.
It's possible, yeah. I mean, so if you look at tantric massage, and that's going to really be just working on in and around, massaging in and around to see if there, what connection is there, because it's numb. Is it completely numb? Let's check
it's
in
not
this.
Numb. I can feel touch, but it's not. It's the same as if I touch my big toe.
Mm-hmm. So then you would just be looking at working with a practitioner to, as you say, maybe like fire more connections to see if it does.
Or a big black building.
Whatever's your preference.
That is what we don't have as well, you know.
The thing is also is what is happening in those moments when you're like, okay, so what you've known, what we've known, I'm not going to like talk about you individually, but what we've known generally is touch equals pleasure or pain sometimes, and then things happen. Okay, and then what do? We enjoy, and we get to climax point, and then that's that. Are we bringing in the divine? Are we bringing in, if you want to change the word from divine to creator to universal, to what happens to you when you're in breath work? Because we're all breathing every day because we're still alive. What happens when we're doing breath work? We're going into bliss. So can we do the same with our sexual practice? So there might be numbness or there might be feeling but not sexual feeling. But what about if we start linking that to a bigger like source point and see what happens? Because the area, the yoni area or the genital area, isn't going to be the only place that you can feel orgasmic pleasure. So if that is, you can feel touch, but you're not feeling turned on or anything. If you start working with your sexual energy on the bigger scale, as you do in breath work, see what could happen then.
Well, it's also, I think, a lot of sexual culture or notions of sexual culture are kind of goal orientated, you know, and if you like, oh, I want to get to this point, and it's like you kind of take away from your own presence. And I think, you know, from my own experience throughout life, you know, I realized that I feel my sexual energy when I'm not goal orientated. So like when I'm just in my beingness, in that, when I've created space for myself or for myself being with someone else. And it's not always easy to create those spaces, you know, just for experiencing energy and life force and, you know, all of those things in your everyday if you've got like 1,000 things to do, whatever. And so, yeah, I think for me personally, like if I let go of a goal, then something else can happen. You know, I can get out my own way. Just a space can open up for an experience that is just, it's there to be
Taken.
Well, it's just there, you know, it's there anyway, and it's like, oh, I noticed it, you know, kind of like it's a noticing almost, and a permission to feel rather than to get to a certain point. Like
exactly, we don't always have to climax, you know, and people think, oh well, you know, it's disappointing. And also, what if you're with someone else? So a really nice way to practice this is alone. You know, like it's amazing in a couple, but alone, you don't have the other. This is why what we also talk about in tantric massage, if you're with a practitioner, there's no expectation. There's no idea that if you're with a partner, you're actually in someone else's sexual energy as well. So that's having an impact. It might be in a really good way, but I'm just saying it's having an impact regardless. You're not sovereign in that. But also you're aware of each other, you know, your pleasure, you're giving and receiving, you're trying to find balance, and you're on this beautiful journey. It's not always beautiful, but you know, like in this weaving of a journey, which is great. But imagine just not having to think about that. Imagine just the freedom of just me and my pleasure, and not if someone else is giving that pleasure to me and I have to then respond or please them, or what are they going to think, or actually wait a minute, I just need to stop and start again because reset, you know. And then it's like, oh am I doing something wrong, or and then I wish it was like just over to the left a wee bit, but I don't want to say anything, or like maybe faster or slower, or whatever it is. We're just, why do we not have that? Why is that not just normal for us to be able to say, oh darling, this and this, without it being, oh, then you're so critical, or you're so controlling, or you're so bossy, and then the other person's super insecure and it's ruined the moment. So you just got to take it, or not, or have a headache and roll over. So like, this is really, it's about the same, as what we're saying just about boundaries in general. A lot of tantra practices or activities are around boundaries, being able and comfortable to say, yes, I like that, more, less, no, without the other person's ego involved. Because actually we are just vessels, we're channels of beautiful sexual energy, that we can play beautiful things together, but we got all this humanness and this ego and this mind involved. It just is like pressure, so much pressure in that moment, and it's really got the potential to be incredible moments if we just, like Janie's saying, if there was no goal, or there's no idea, or there's no expectation, just get that out of the way, and for it to be, and also for you to just really feel your kundalini. And sometimes, in my own personal experience, no genitals are touched, but the most powerful kundalini mutual experience blows you to another dimension, and that sound that comes out is uncontrollable, way more than normal sex, what you would ever have known as just normal sex, which is like basically just physical stimulation. Things are being stimulated to a point, then that's like 2% of what we actually can really feel. Why would we want to be stuck in that? It's not limited. It's not limited at all to the genitals. It's not limited to touch. It's not limited to stimulation. That's a really, restrictive story. Keeps us very closed. Actually, if we can open to, it's not that hard. It's not like we're saying, oh, somewhere down the line we'll all be able to like levitate and time travel. Hopefully, yeah. But we've got the potential right now to be way more than we are. Just by letting go of the shame and the boxes. And it doesn't mean like we're going around like all lustful and horny all the time, like, oh, what have we done to society? We'll be happier. We'll be happier people. Any questions?
I was going to say, like, it's almost like when you create intimacy with yourself, like you can become intimate with anything around you. Like I went for a walk this morning with my camera, and I was like, I had a connection with this ram, and I had a connection with this plant and the snow and this ice and the water, and it was just like this beautiful experience of, it was joyful for me to actually spend time alone in nature, like, and curious and present and all of those things. My senses were awake, and I was like, do you know what? I haven't done this for ages. Hi! And to me that is, I had a lot of kundalini moving through the last few days. When I arrived here, I could hardly feel my belly. I was just like, I'm so like stressed and tense and blocked and all of those things. And I know that's not who I am, but it was the state I was in. And having, this work is amazing because I just feel like, oh God, I'm remembering, how beautiful life is and how it just improves the quality of life when it moves through you. Like it just improves the perception, the feeling, the senses, the energy, the joy, whatever, the ecstasy, whatever. It doesn't all have to be highs. Even the lows can be beautiful as well. And it's like, it's just this intimacy with everything, you know. And to me, that's when my sexual energy is flowing, then I can experience those things without getting stuck on it, kind of thing. You know, like just being. I say that maybe maybe I don't. Maybe there's been times when I have, but like.
It's a good point what you've said about being open, like you're awakened.
Yeah.
Your senses are heightened.
Yeah.
So that's the state. That's a really good example, thank you, of what I've been explaining, is you're walking around in a heightened state of sensitivity to pleasure. So, as Lily was talking about, your cells are opening, we're vibrating. Imagine you're just working with that, and with breath work, with tantra, with whatever it is you're doing. You can do it in meditations. And you're open, all the gateways are open. You're connected, you're the receptor, you're the conduit, it's just there. What a good place that is to be in. And is that shameful? To walk around feeling your sexual energy, to feel pleasure in your body. No. There's nothing shameful in that, and it's time for us all to really be empowered in that. There is nothing shameful. And part of what we see in the constellations, if you have had experiences where your joy, so with tantric massage post sexual abuse, if your joy or your innocence or your choice or whatever it is was taken from you by another, that can leave lasting damage in that sense. But the more that we can be in this, what we're talking about in this room, and I can feel as we're talking, the energies rising to this state of empowerment, which is actually, I fucking deserve that. I deserve that. And if you're small, energetically small for whatever reason because of sexual abuse, if you can recognize that just by being a human, you are entitled to sexual pleasure and choice and boundaries. I like that, I don't like that, I want that, I don't want that. You can then hold up your fabric to your perpetrator and say, this is what you took from me. So you can have one. These are the consequences of your actions. This is what's blocking me from my divine pleasure, from my sexual energy, from my joy in every cell of my body. This is blocking me because the consequences of your actions, and I'll leave it with you. And this is my right, and I will hold that. So you really don't have to let somebody else, bless you, hold the keys to your pleasure. You hold the keys. You decide. You open the cells. You open the pleasure gates. Who wants to?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So, okay, so first of all, we're going to, how many wanted? Do you want to participate or not? We're doing a very quick thing.
Just a quickie.
As long as it's a quickie, I'm fine.
You'll have a quickie. No, it's a quick, right, let me show you what it is and then you can decide. So potentially we're going to go into groups of 3. Each person's going to have a turn. So you'll be the client, let's just call you. And you'll have 2 fabrics. And one of them will be your pleasure, the fullness of your pleasure, and it will be facing you over there. And then in between will be whatever's blocking you from your pleasure. You don't need to know you might know what that is, but you don't need to. And I'm not going to ask you to think about it because You might think it's one thing and it's not that. So we're just going to get out of the mind, and we're not going to even be investigating. We're not going to be imagining it's a person or a situation or anything. It's just representing the blockage. And then I'm going to talk you through a handful of healing sentences to get it in another place rather than blocking you. And you're going to look at your pleasure, and that's it. And then we're going to swap around. So it's just basically a movement for whatever the block is to be in a different place rather than blocking you. Okay? And then it'll be the next person's turn, and then the next person's turn. And for the people at home, I'm going to talk you through it slightly differently. You'll do it 3 times. First time you'll be you, the second time you'll be the blockage, and the third time you'll be the pleasure. So you get to feel from all perspectives. Clear? Okay. So do you want to?
Yeah.
Right, okay. So we might need a 4. Fine, just go into groups of 3 and we'll see however what the numbers are. If we can do it as quickly as we can, because there's people at home. Take 2 fabrics. Let's see how long this takes. I'm going to time them. No one's moving. Someone's gone to the toilet. Yes, so you're going to go in a line. No, you're gonna take 2, not 3. So 2. I'll describe it once everyone's got their fabrics, because. Okay, has everyone got a group of 3? Just all having chat.
No, I'm very happy, but it's just to make up numbers.
Has everyone got a 3? It's like being at school.
How many altogether the group? 3.
3 people in a group. 1 person is the client, and that person will take 2 fabrics. That's all for now. Yeah, you've got it.
Oh, you have just 1 fabric for the client. 1 person. So only 1.
No, I do have one. Certainly knows how to
Nobody can get the instructions. Okay. All right, Lilia, you're not in.
I know.
I've done it before. Okay, guys. So whoever is the client, please, you're going to go in a straight line. If I'm the client, I want my pleasure to be facing me. Yeah, like that. They're going to be standing on the fabric for it.
One of us is pleasure, yeah. You're good at doing it
Yeah.
line.
Now, this is your divine pleasure, okay? Not your current or your family pleasure or anything that we've previously experienced. Divine pleasure. Yeah, someone on that one? And then the blockage is going to be in between them, facing towards the client. Yeah, perfect. Okay, let me show everyone at home so that they can visualize. So you're going to have, where's my client, blockage, divine pleasure. Yeah, in a line like that. Thanks, girls. Okay. So, client, take a deep breath. And for everyone, people at home, you're only going to be doing the client part. Everyone else, that's on a fabric, notice how you feel, if you're the blockage or if you're divine pleasure. If you're standing on divine pleasure, make the most of this, because it should be pretty nice. Get yourselves filled up with that divine pleasure. Okay, so client, notice how your body feels with this scenario. Notice if there's any sadness. Can you see divine pleasure? How does it feel that they're not fully visible? Are you happy with that effort you're having to put in to see them? Would you like to be more connected? Would you like to... How do you feel about this blockage?
Right. Get out of the way.
Get out of the way. Yeah. Who doesn't feel like they would like the blockage to move?
I kind of like it a bit. I sort of like it a
What
bit.
kind of blockage you
But,
got?
but it's like an irritable, like,
Just before poo, kind of.
Everything's kicking off here. Everyone's like hysterical. Okay. So, look at your blockage in the eyes. Notice if you're laughing. Why are you laughing? Maybe your blockage is humor. Maybe your blockage is laughter. Maybe your blockage is distraction, shame. You don't need to know what your blockage is, but people at home, notice how it feels in your body. Do you have expansion, contraction? Are you just anxious to get that blockage out of the way? Do you reject that blockage? Blockage, notice how you feel. Do you want to move? Are you comfortable? Are you distracting? Are you distracted? Are you fearful? Are you shameful? Just notice within you. And then client, tell your blockage and then notice how you feel once you said it. Thank you for being here. Take a deep breath. Guys, take a deep breath. And tell your blockage again, thank you for being here.
Thank you for being here.
And just notice if any part of you doesn't mean that. And then tell the blockage, somehow I've needed you.
Somehow I've needed you.
Even if that's hard to accept.
Even if that's hard to accept.
And then blockage, just notice what's happening as you're hearing all of this. Client, tell the blockage, you have a place here. Can you stand behind me and support me instead of blocking me? Blockage, if you're able to, please go and stand behind them. Did anyone's blockage not go? Just one. Okay. If your blockage hasn't gone, tell them, I'm ready to see my pleasure.
I'm ready to see my pleasure.
I'd like to do it in a way that the others couldn't?
I'd like to do it in a way that others couldn't.
Can you help me? If you stand behind me, you can see the pleasure too.
If you stand behind me, you can see the pleasure too.
Pleasure, can you tell the blockage is safe?
It's safe.
You deserve it.
And you deserve the pleasure.
Blockage, can you move? Great. Okay, client. Breathe in the fullness of your pleasure. Notice how it feels with no obstruction. Pleasure, notice how you feel being seen. Pleasure, if you want to tell client anything, please do. You don't have to, but just in case you want to. And then just notice client, because we're going to finish there. Notice if there's any part of you that's uncomfortable or slightly anxious, or it's so brand new, or it's so big, or any of the things, just that's fine. There's no expectation here. But what you have is clear access to your full pleasure as and when you want it. Very nice. Okay. Thank you guys. So we'll reset. Change around so that
I can feel what you were.
person that's the blockage, person that was the blockage now move to being the pleasure. Pleasure move to being the client. Client move to the blockage. Okay, people at home, you're going to do this from the perspective of the blockage. Stand in your mind's eye, stand, and behind you will be the wholeness of pleasure, and in front of you will be you, the client. So you are feeling into what it feels like to be your own blockage. Okay, we're ready to go? Okay, so client, take a deep breath and look at the situation in front of you. Just notice what happens in your body, how it feels. Can you see your pleasure? Is it comfortable? Do you even want to look? Are you angry at the blockage? Are you grateful for the blockage? Just check in. Blockage, and people at home, notice. How are you feeling with client looking at you? Are you feeling being in the middle? Yeah, maybe you're big and powerful, maybe you're small, maybe you're shameful, maybe you're anxious, maybe you're protective. Maybe pleasure isn't safe. Can you feel pleasure behind you? What does that feel like? Do you feel at fault? Are you being blamed? And pleasure, notice how it feels for you. Maybe you're not bothered at all. Maybe you have compassion for blockage. Or maybe you'd really like to be seen by client. Maybe you've had enough of being unseen and blocked out. Maybe you're angry. Client, look at blockage and say, thank you for being here. Blockage, just notice how you feel to hear these things. Client, tell the blockage, I've needed you somehow. And somehow you've kept me safe. Even if that's not clear. Thank you for that. Blockage, notice what happens if anything's releasing in you or changing. Client, tell blockage, you have a place here. Can you stand behind me and support me instead of blocking me? Blockage, just check in with yourself and notice if that's okay for you. You can move. Did anyone not go? Great. Okay, client, feel what it's like. You can see pleasure. Pleasure, feel what it's like to be seen. Blockage, feel what it's like to stand in a place of support. And when you look at your pleasure, just notice what's there. It's okay if it's not incredible or overwhelmingly beautiful. It might be. You might be scared of it. Pleasure might feel happy to be seen. There's no right or wrong here, just information. And then we'll stop there. And if you, pleasure, if you've got anything that you want to say, you might not. And we'll stop there and we'll reset. Okay, thank you. Okay, guys, and we'll reset for the. So whoever was the blockage is now the pleasure. No one's listening to me. Okay, guys, are we ready to go for the third person? Okay, so client, take a deep breath. Whoever was the blockage is now the pleasure. Whoever was the pleasure is now the client. Whoever was the client is now the blockage. People at home, you will now be in the role of pleasure. Okay, so client, take a deep breath. And just notice, how do you feel about this situation in front of you? How is it that you cannot access full pleasure? Just notice. Blockage, notice how it feels to be in the middle. Can you feel pleasure behind you? Are you protecting client? Are you powerful? Are you weak? Pleasure and people at home, how does it feel to not be fully seen? Maybe you don't mind at all. Maybe you can be there regardless. Or maybe you really want to be seen and you're ready and you're fed up waiting. Just notice. Client, can you look at blockage? Can you see them in their eyes? And just notice what happens in your body when you're looking directly at them. Okay, clientele blockage. Thank you for being here. And blockage, notice what happens. Clientele blockage, somehow I've needed you. And somehow you've kept me safe on some level. Even if it's not clear. Thank you for that. You have a place here. Can you stand behind me and support me instead of blocking me? Blockage, notice how it feels to go and be in a place of support. Client, notice how it feels to see pleasure. Pleasure, notice how it feels to be fully seen. Unobstructed. And whatever feeling is there is fine. Maybe slight nervousness, overwhelm, or might just be pure joy, bliss, expansion, potential. Might be emotional. Pleasure, just notice what happens in you the more you're seen. And if there's anything you want to say, you can do. Okay, and we will finish there. Thank your groups.
Oh, I got it. With my beautiful blockage.
Oh, these guys love the hugs.
I love you blockage. I didn't know.
Super nice. Okay, guys, if we can sit back down, hold on to whatever came up for you there, and then we can discuss it all in the break. Just for the interest of time, I want to be able to give you as much as possible in this time that we've got. Okay, so thanks, Bonnie. The purpose of that is really to show you that apart from the odd occasion, which is also super fine, the blockages want to support. And the blockages want to support as soon as they're given a place. So whatever it is that you think is blocking you from anything, or is an obstacle, or is something unwanted, it's the baddie, it's just going to stay there whilst it's the baddie, whilst it's unwanted, whilst it's blamed. Again, it goes back to what we were doing yesterday. Where's my part? Let me hold my part. Even if I don't know what the hell that is, I know that I have a part. So if I hold it and say, here's my part, and somehow I have wanted you here, even if it's the complete opposite of what I think I want, and what I want is that is right behind you, I want that, and I can't get it because of you, you're ignoring your part in actually bringing that blockage to be there. Whether it came from 3 generations ago, some part of you has wanted it to be there and continued for it to be there. Otherwise, it wouldn't be there. So the main takeaway from that is that no blockage is permanent. No blockage is actually a bad thing. No blockage is actually a blockage. When you can recognize that you actually put it there, some part of you in some subconscious level put it there without blaming yourself. I've put it there because somehow a part of me has wanted to not reach my pleasure or to not reach whatever that thing is behind it. So you have enabled that to happen to that part of me, but I don't want that anymore. So can you support me? So every blockage is going to be a massive support. Everything that you've ever encountered that's been a challenge, it doesn't just go and is forgotten. It adds to you. It's like what we were talking about. How do you get into more of a fullness? How do you learn from experience? How do people that were sexually abused end up working to support people that have been sexually abused? You know, it's like that. Can you, this abuse story, support me into my full service? But that's putting it into the mind, and that's making a story to link with a story. You don't have to have that. It's just a blockage. Whatever it is that's your blockage, the most important thing is that it's acknowledged. And you hold your part, and every time it will go behind you, the same as the ancestors. Every time they'll say, yes, 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 do it in a different way. Please, go on boy, go on girl, go forward and do it differently. We suffered so that you don't have to. The blockage doesn't want to sit there because whilst it's there, it's contracted. Who didn't feel as the blockage when you went to stand behind as a support? Who didn't feel better?
I didn't actually, because I felt the pleasure. We've got some karmic thing going on here, because yesterday obviously I put my hands on him and he did the same to me just before I was about to go round, and I was feeling like the pleasure was very predatory energy, which can make sense to me, but also when he put his arms on my shoulders like that, and then I noticed how a bit of a victim story came in, and then I checked myself and just went, oh, that's a victim story, and let that go. So it wasn't an instant, like, although the movement happened.
Are you meaning but I'm asking you, when you were the blockage,
Yeah,
and you went and stood behind the client.
the pleasure was behind me,
Uh-huh.
and the pleasure put his hands on me just as I was about to move, because I was wanting to move. I could feel this predatory energy behind me, because the pleasure was the predatory energy, which was similar to yesterday.
But when you got to standing behind the client,
yeah, I didn't instantly feel like, oh, that's better. I had gone into victim, like, ooh, someone's just gone, like, so, and it was like someone was holding my body down.
okay, and when she said to you, can you go behind me and support me?
Yeah.
How did you feel?
I was just about to go, yeah, I couldn't wait to move, because the pleasure.
Okay, so then something else came in,
yeah,
which is, but as the blockage, you wanted to go behind and support. Yeah.
and then something else happened that
is another
so it
part to it.
That doesn't matter.
But yeah, the point that I'm trying to go to is that the blockages are happy to be given a place of a supportive place.
Yeah. Right, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we can talk about that later. Yeah. So does everyone get that point? Our blockages are not our enemies. They're actually supportive. They are our friends. You need to shift the perspective to get to that, and it's not super easy, especially if the blockage is a very difficult one. But it is a perspective that will help if you can be open to that. Okay, so pleasure. Any questions on that, on the blockages?
Because I felt that really strongly, like I wanted to diminish as the blockage, and I really wanted to become that support from behind. But so much so, yeah. I was even my body, I could feel my body. Initially, I was like, nothing. And I just could feel myself going, I'm not real. Like I don't want to be here. Felt very
great. So remember that when you were in that, although that was for your partner's situation, it's not. You take that with you, that little imprint for what it feels like to be the blockage. It wasn't just, that was this person's blockage. It's everyone. Everyone was almost the same. And it's the same for your blockage. When it was your turn to be the client, your blockage will go behind and support. So all of our blockages are not what we think. Mm-hmm. They're like just okay. Yeah, some twisted way to keep us safe. That's why that healing sentence is powerful. And if you can say that and believe it, not just because I'm asking you to say it, to any blockage or any obstacle that you're facing, thank you for being here. It's like, that's the opposite. Normally people are telling you, burn it in the fire, send it away.
I actually felt that my blockage was the guardian angel.
Wow. That's lovely. And it went he's like, yeah.
Now everybody's to end me.
Really didn't want to move.
Which one?
Okay, guys. So we're going to move. Can this pick up any music?
No, if we didn't play music, I would end it.
Right, I don't want to end it. So we'll just work it over. I'm going to do this then. So. I need to play music. It won't pick up anything.
It just distorts because we don't have a proper mic
Right.
yet.
Yeah, I will have to play. Okay, so I think we will have to end then. So let me just speak quickly to the live people. There is a link in the comments, and that will take you to a YouTube. Everyone in the room as well, I'll share if you want. We're actually going to do it shortly, and it's called it's an Osho meditation called Kundalini, Osho Kundalini, and it's an hour of music. And basically, what you're going to do, you're welcome to do it at home. Turn it up really loud if you can. Put headphones in if you're at home, or just whap up the volume. And if you've got a blindfold, that's really good as well. So because when your eyes are open, you're going to be distracted. So what you want to do is awaken the Kundalini, and you want to kind of go into horse stance, if anyone knows, like slightly bent knees. And you start shaking, your body starts shaking, and you're not shaking it. The point where you're starting to shake is not from the knees, it's from the pelvis, it's from the sacral area, and your knees, your whole body will shake. If you've got boobs, they'll go up and down, so maybe wear a sports bra if you've got larger boobs. And let your shoulders drop, and it's like this kind of like that, like your jaw drop, and let the music, and that's it. So what you're actually doing is not only are you releasing, but you're building Kundalini. And if you want to bring focus to your sacral area, to pleasure, internal pleasure, and see what happens. So I'm just going to leave those short instructions with the live people, and then we're going to go off, and I'll give you more instructions and I'll lead you through it when we're doing it. I'm sad that we can't do any more of the sharing stuff online, but next time, because I have to play music. So thank you, everyone, and we'll just say bye from Sky.
Bye from
And the mountains. Can't see that. Okay.